Joining me is therapist Betsy Keats, and she is here to talk to us about her upcoming workshop, helping women in particular deal with anger. And welcome, Betsy Keats. It's such a pleasure to have you back on our show. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much, MK. I appreciate being on.
Tell us about this workshop and why you think it's particularly pertinent, especially right now.
Yes, it is very pertinent to what is going on right now. The workshop itself is called Cultivating, Understanding, and Healing Your Relationship with Anger. And it is for women, particularly because women have a much greater difficulty in feeling anger, expressing anger, dealing with anger. It's been many centuries of learned and other kinds of expectations on women, to where we feel that it is not an acceptable emotion. We're given strong verbal and nonverbal messages that teach us to deny anger. And especially now with the COVID situation, as you said, there is a lot of anxiety and there is a lot of anger. People are angry about having to change their lives so much and not being able to do the things that they have always done before. It's been a huge worldwide trauma. And it seems that everyone is traumatized to a certain extent. We may not all realize it, but it has changed our world, changed our internal workings completely. And so anger for women is harder anyway. And so I wanted to bring this workshop to the public and to women in particular, so that we can work on how to be and feel more empowered, how to feel more authentic, how to just be able to express ourselves. Anger is a universal human emotion we all experience from time to time. But in our culture, especially for women, but also for men too, it is a no-no. It is, you absolutely do not express anger. And I think certainly for women and also for some men, we've always been conditioned to not show our anger, not even feel our anger. But believe it or not, there are some women I have worked with who have never felt it, allowed themselves to feel it. And right now, during this time of so much uncertainty, people are angry. I mean, they're angry that their lives have been turned upside down. Many people have lost jobs, their livelihoods. It's and it, they're right to be angry. But it's about allowing that to be a part of our lives.
The rates of domestic violence and child abuse are up. You know, this anger is getting played out within households, and not just on our television screen through our political climate and during it being an election year, et cetera, et cetera. Is it possible to turn this kind of anger around and turn it into a positive for people?
I think it is. I think it is possible. I think that we have to understand anger. Just to back up from what you said about the child abuse and the domestic violence rates going up, that amps up anger for everyone, and it's a very serious situation, because the agencies can't get to people sometimes. The women, mostly women who are in abusive situations, often can't leave them now. Those situations now, the anger escalates. I wouldn't be surprised if the suicide rate is going up as well. And I think we can turn it around. And that's why I like to give these kinds of workshops to women. I will probably do some for women and men as well, so that we can look at our fears around expressing some of these feelings. We can look at our beliefs that we've had mostly since we've been little children, about not expressing our feelings, and especially around anger. It has a certain feeling to it that's a no-no. You don't express that. You are bad. You are, for women, you're unfeminine. They use the B word a lot for if you just express your anger. So of course women are gonna not express it. They're gonna hold it in. And now during this time of the virus, it's probably a lot worse because we don't know how to feel about this anger. We don't know what to do with it. So in my workshop, that's what we're going to look at, is where this denial comes from for us. What happened in our families? What's going on in our lives? And how can we look at those reasons and say, wait a minute, that was a long time ago, when, for example, my mother said, little girls don't get angry, be nice, play nice, or be polite, all of those things, and how we can say, wait a minute, I can change this. I can feel empowered. I can say no to people, because it helps us set boundaries. It helps us be respected.
Sometimes what women will do is hold it in, and then all of a sudden, it's this big explosion of anger. And in some ways, part of you, when you're on the receiving end of that anger, part of you wants to say to that person, if you just didn't want to do this, all you had to do was say no. You don't have to say yes, 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 and then no. So it's a relief for the person on the receiving end of that anger, also for that person to deal better with their anger. It's a positive for both parties, those on the receiving end and those on the giving end.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's what a lot of us, and particularly women, we don't have experience with expressing it, because mostly we don't. So we don't know, how the recipient is going to react. But we have in our mind, because we have all these core beliefs, we have all these fears around it, that people are going to really not like it, to reject us, and so forth, when in fact it actually can bring us, when we express it in assertive terms, but as calmly as possible, that we get respect for that. We also feel empowered, because we're able to be who we are. If we don't express anger, if we just placate, if we're just polite, if we're just sort of the quotes, good girl, the nice girl, the polite girl all the time, it eats away at us. I mean, people have incredible physical manifestations, such as migraines, ulcers, neck and shoulder and back issues, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke. I mean, it goes on and on and on, from minimal to very serious things, because we hold it, we just hold it in. And we're not able to be who we are. And then on a societal level, we look at that and we see the movements now that are happening, the Me Too movements, the Black Lives Matter movement, all of these movements, the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s. I mean, this was all, the basis for this is people being angry. The anger is the basis that has actually birthed these movements. So it's a positive. It can be a real positive catalyst, both personally and societally.
If you just tuned in, we're speaking with therapist Betsy Keats about her upcoming workshop, Helping Women Deal with Anger. Betsy, tell us again where this workshop is happening. How can people find out more about it, and where do they go?
The workshop, it's going to be a Zoom workshop, and they can go to my website, which is betsykeats.com, and go to the events page and just look under 2020 events, and there'll be a little registration form there. They can go and register. It's being held next Wednesday, August 26th, and it's noon Santa Fe time.
When people say, well, it's about putting boundaries down, people kind of get sometimes even afraid of boundaries too, that, oh, that means you're going to be an uptight,
Right.
B person,
Right. Right. Right.
that
Be
you're not
person.
gonna,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and those don't necessarily equate either. It can actually be about being far more compassionate, even to not just to yourself but to others as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one can often people defend, other people, using anger as a means to do that. When somebody is wronged, sometimes a lot of times that person can't express it, but there's somebody else who says, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's not right. It's sort of a right and wrong, kind of helpful. It can be a very helpful, and it's also about understanding that one needs to be assertive, but one does not need to be aggressive. And there's a very big difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness. And women get that wrong because of our conditioning. We think a lot of times that when we're assertive and just the main goal is to make sure that that everybody's respected, it's not bullying, but it's valuing ourselves, and that we have something that we want to say and need to say, versus aggressiveness, which is trying to hurt somebody, trying to control somebody. And I think that is often what is difficult for us to understand and take chances. We have to take risks. We have to practice. So how you do it is you just start with something that isn't quite so meaningful with somebody, a little argument in the office, well, most of us are not in the office now, but at work, that kind of thing. Just trying it out a little bit to see how it feels and see how somebody responds to you and how you feel, as you said, in your body. It's very important to be conscious of how you're feeling in your body, because you'll feel it. You'll feel when it starts to build up. You'll feel your body will say, hey, you should really say something about that. You should really say something to him or her, but you may not in fact do that. But yes, very important to listen to your body.
But it does seem as though men also, I mean, I have certainly witnessed men who are far too accommodating. And then they can deal with, that's sometimes where you'll see the combination of the nice guy with the kind of not so nice wife. And you're like, dude, you can stand up for yourself here. Or, the woman's screaming and the guy's like working his tail off to make her happy. And so this certainly applies to men as well, and especially the good guys out there that are really working hard to make their women happy.
Absolutely. No question about it. And I think that there are some men who have trouble with, again, with the societal and gender expectations around anger, because men are generally expected more to act out their anger, to express it. Sometimes if they don't, other men may give them some trouble about that, and may get, there's all of that kind of sort of behavior going on. And I think that, yes, I think it does happen often that men are kind of left out of the what do I do kind of thing around anger, because they don't want to be they don't want to be boisterous or whatever. But the women, on the other hand, are expressing their anger, and the men are saying, what do I do? What am I supposed to do?
Right.
So yes, there's definitely that aspect to it. Although I do think the main focus of repression of anger is certainly more toward women than men.
I'm reflecting on this idea that it's really about the healthy expression of what you're saying, the healthy expression of anger, transforming it into a positive, not a negative, realizing that it can be our best friend. It can be a really good way to get in touch with ourselves and help us get to know ourselves better. So what are things that people can begin to do to help them get in touch with their anger or even understand it and then redirect it in a more positive way?
I think first and foremost is to really look at, and you can write this down. What are what are your core beliefs around anger? What do you believe? I believe anger is. You can write it out, and you'll be really surprised at how many beliefs one has about not expressing anger. So you look at that. You look at, well, where did that come from? Generally it comes from early training, parents, family, extended family, schools, etc., peers.
So you're actually trying to figure out your relationship with anger. What do I think about anger?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the first question to ask yourself.
Yes.
How do I view anger and why do I view it in the particular way that I view it?
Yes. Yes.
The narrative.
Yes. And what were the early messages that I got around anger? Yes, the narrative. And do I believe, is that helping me now? Is it constructive for me now? And can I let those go? And understand, really understand how we as women relate to and deal with anger given our socialization. Really understand how we're expected to be, and does that resonate with us? Do we want to be? Do we need to really be like that? And most women, when they see their history around it, they'll go, no, I don't really need to do that anymore, but I don't know how. So and to look at the physical, emotional, you know aspects of this as well. But then to discuss, it's discussing it with people, discussing how expressing anger in healthy ways can bring us to discover our authenticity, to empower and respect ourselves. It's workshops like mine that bring women together, even groups of women, friends. Talk about this, talk about anger. There are many, many things you can do.
Right. So even just standing up for oneself does seem like a kind of a scary thing. Well, I'll probably lose, so I shouldn't even try.
Yes, yes, yes. So I always suggest, just take little steps. If you want to start to express your anger, just take little steps.
When you say express your anger, what does that mean? Does that mean I start yelling more at people? Or does that mean, how do I express that anger? I have the exact question all the people that go to your workshop do.
Yes.
How do I express it?
It's more about asserting your needs.
So it's getting in touch with the anger so it doesn't get expressed as anger.
Yes, exactly. As expressed as a boundary. Yes.
That it's not so much about expressing your anger as it is that anger is what you're getting in touch with, and then you're learning to express it in a different way. So it doesn't mean running around and screaming at each other.
Right.
Because I think some women will hear, oh, I can get angry. And so then they start going, okay, I have a right now to just run around and start yelling at people or telling people what I really think. And I've had some experiences with even friends who've done that, female friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because you had that thought and you're angry doesn't mean you were actually accurate in your thought. And now you're just taking your stuff out on me.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. So basically, it's listening to your body. It's listening to your mind. It's saying, I'm angry about this situation. If you can remove yourself a little bit before you express yourself and think about, how can I best do this? How can I best express, excuse me, what I want to express without just losing it with people and screaming and yelling, because that doesn't accomplish anything but negativity. But maybe I want to be assertive. Maybe that's what I really want, and say, I need this, or I need to have this happen. Now, every once in a while the emotion comes out and we get angry, and that's okay. because it sometimes it just happens, and sometimes people really need to hear that. And it doesn't mean that you have to berate someone up and down for 15 minutes, but sometimes we're just angry, we need to get it out. But mostly, if we just take some time away, it's often good to move away from the situation. Think about it. Think about how you feel. Really feel it. What do I really want? What is my goal in this situation? Do I just want to say to somebody, I wish you could do this another way. You've been doing this for a while. It doesn't feel good to me, that kind of thing. And that's getting your anger out. It's getting your needs met in a healthy, constructive way.
So it's not as much getting your anger out as it is expressing your needs better.
Yes, and as I said, there are times, I truly believe anger is going to come out. It's going to. And certainly in a relationship, the two parties afterwards, once things have calmed down, can look at that and say, it can be a teacher. It can be a teacher. We don't want it to be out of control, of course, but it can be a teacher and teach us, okay, what is really going on here? So I would say try to be, for women and some men who have difficulty with anger, try to assert yourself. Don't let things pass you by that you really want to set boundaries, because you deserve that. We deserve to set boundaries. We deserve to get respect. And it is about getting respect. It really is. If you just say yes, yes, yes all the time, generally people aren't going to respect you. But if you say no sometimes, I don't like that, or let's do this differently, or I don't feel comfortable with that, that is being assertive, but it's respecting other people.
Right. Yeah. This is very interesting, and so even the term assertive sometimes can sound a little scary. to
It does. Yes. Yes, it does. It does sound, and I think it sounds scary to a lot of people, because I think the connotations and the definitions that we put on the word assertive are wrong. We have again, societal and family uh, expectations and biases kind of within us that are just have been with us for a long time. And again, assertiveness comes from a place of valuing yourself as equal to others. It's not about attacking people. For example, in negotiations, an assertive person knows that they're looking for a fair exchange of value on all sides. An aggressive person is more concerned with what they can get out of it and may use fear tactics to get it. So assertiveness is done with the intention of not hurting anybody.
Yeah, that's a very important distinction. Very important. If you just tuned in, we're speaking with therapist Betsy Keats about her upcoming workshop, helping women deal with anger. Betsy, tell us again where this workshop is happening. How can people find out more about it, and where do they go?
Sure, thank you. The workshop, it's going to be a Zoom workshop, and they can go to my website, which is betsykeats.com, and go to the events page and just look under 2020 events, and there'll be a little registration form there. They can go and register. It's being held next Wednesday, August 26th, and it's noon Santa Fe time.
Betsy, thank you again so much for joining us today. This is MK Mendoza for KSFR's Wake Up Call.